just first off, regarding our practice, Nate Singleton is going to be put on injured reserve. He had an ACL in last week's game, midway through the game. One in which, though, he played 2/3 of the game with it was kind of remarkable. And then he reported he felt a little soreness. They looked at it. We looked at it some more, and then sure enough, he'll be scheduled for surgery probably about 2 weeks from now. So Bidet will be moved up to the active roster, and then we made some practice squad additions. Any questions?
With Alex, that was against Tampa.
Yeah.
He did the ACL.
Yep.
He played 2/3 of the game with it.
It happened on the play, on the interception, and that was fairly early. It's unusual. His tear was unusual in that, it caused some bruising, but fortunately, it's just the ACL. But it's unusual for a player to feel asymptomatic, if you will.
How do you go about replacing him? And Cody comes in.
Look, we've got a lot of options. I'm not going to cover them. But we've got, a handful of guys. We've got probably 2 or 3 different directions we'll go, and then we'll just see how it goes.
Coach, when a captain gets injured, do you replace them in terms of the captain, or do they keep them?
I don't think so. Good question. No, I just think it's what I just said to him. I said I'm not worried about who takes his spot. It's everyone else picking up the slack in place of him.
Was he as shocked as you were?
Oh, he was just as surprised. He came in. Bo mentioned to me, he said, when we saw him in the training room after the game, he reported some soreness. He said there was some movement. We're going to go just have an MRI to be sure, and then I think all of us were.
What is Alexander potentially?
Like I said, I'm not going to cover.
But I mean, you've coached him a few years in New Orleans.
He's a good player.
And who was the other guy you signed to the practice squad?
We'll announce that tomorrow when he gets signed.
With Tyler, the running back, you've talked a little bit about him, but what have you seen from him just from the start?
Well, part of managing the roster is also managing the ability. He had, I think, one more game where he could have come up. So part of it is managing other guys that you may need to bring up on the practice squad. But he's been real decisive. He's had some big runs for us. He's smart. He knows the system. He's good in the passing game. He brings a lot.
Was there anything with the field in Tampa with the game being played?
Look, I'd be the wrong person to ask. Really, in fairness to that question.
Just being here, obviously, I think it's been a while maybe since you brought a team here, but what is it that you like about being here? And it seems like it's a comfortable, you know.
Yeah, so look, I can't recall the first year. I remember the current governor, Mr. Jim Justice, at that time wasn't in office. He was the owner, and I had met him. We were looking for a place to get out of the heat. He was looking to build something to attract an NFL team, and we met. He put me in his car and drove around where it might be, and that was 4th of July week. And then I remember going back and talking with Mickey, our general manager, and pretty soon they sent some plans, and then pretty soon we agreed to do a contract for 3 years, and so Jim and his staff, Mickey and we kind of designed it, and we were here 3 years. I think the Texans followed us, but this is the first time for me being back since then, and it's just how we kind of envisioned it. It's logistically everything fits. The facility, really the building is important. I remember bringing our field people and our chefs to make sure the grass and the food was up to speed. And then after they were here, you forget these guys do fields for a living. They've got 5 golf courses in the area, and the fields were impeccable. And then the food is all organically grown. And then so what went from being make sure ended up being like, hey, find out, get some information yourself. Anyway, we joked about that. But no, for the rain we had, that they've had here for the last, few days, the field's held up really good.
The fact that you're so comfortable, you said logistically this place fits well. If you didn't have a place like this, would you have still done the staying open?
Yeah, so when we sent the request to the league about 2 Eastern games, we didn't know. It could have been Baltimore, Cincinnati. It could have been Tampa. So, pick a combination of those 4, and then it may have been, I know we looked at the Disney sports comp. I mean, there's a number of options. When it was Tampa Jets, then I think we started with 3 or 4, narrowed it down, and this made sense. So it wasn't always going to be necessarily here, depending on the 2 games, if that makes any sense.
Coach, I think the players have enjoyed it here so far.
Look, I think it's. I can't speak for them. I think. I think that the setup is easy for them. It's convenient. I think the accommodations are fantastic. I think there have been 8 teams. We're not the only team that's done this with the Eastern. I think there's been a number of teams. I think 8 professional teams have been here, 3 training camp probably, maybe 4, and then the others have used it the same way. We've used it as a layover, if you will, between the next game. But everything in mind, and Jim was fantastic. He's one of those guys that gets things done, and I think the concern was, can the grass, none of this, it wasn't woods or anything, but can the fields be ready in time? That field's easy to control. Of course, the hotel's here, the food tent. This facility was built real quickly, and then it was really about the grass fields, and they did a great job. We've had joint practices before here with New England. And so, yeah, I just think now they use it a lot. I think the high schools in Marshall, West Virginia, I think it's used quite a bit.
John, the Jets are getting a lot of pass rush production from all kinds of different guys. What's the biggest challenge they produce?
Yeah, so it's a different type team than we've played. These guys generate pressure with a 4-man rush, and they do it extremely well. So when you're caught holding the ball in coverage, and they play a number of different coverages, maybe not as much pressure as we saw a week ago necessarily. In fact, it's dramatically different. And yet, those guys up front are playing really well.
But in particular, when that push comes from the center of the pocket, what's our challenge is that for
It's really hard. He at that position where he's playing, he's been the best in the league at affecting the quarterback at defensive tackle, and you see it on tape.
What sort of role do you envision for Bidet now that he's on the 50 team?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, he'll be kind of, we've taken 3 backs to a game, and we'll kind of continue to mix up the roles based on what we're doing.
What did the film show on how Chesky played?
Pretty good, really well. First start, he did a lot of things well. He's smart. He's played a lot of football games, and so we're fortunate to have someone with. I know it's not pro experience, but you felt it in the game.
What is the film showing you about Aaron Rodgers after 3 weeks back?
You feel like you're seeing, the quarterback we all remember. I mean, he's quick. The ball's out. He's got great command of what they do. 180 penalties drawn with his hard count. And so historically speaking, you know, he's one of the top quarterbacks we've ever seen, and certainly in that area. So he does a great job getting to plays they want to get to. You know, you see the skill set that we all saw prior to the injury.
Is the stuff with the Jets old news now? Based on last year was a story. Is that
Yeah, I think so until you just asked the question, but I think so. We're playing a game.
I don't think we asked you on Sunday with Barron going on reserve injury. Do you expect to get him back this year? Or
Yes. Yeah, so it's a fair question. He's on short-term IR.
Is Alex out for the year?
Yeah, he will be. He'll be on, the long term. Yeah.
Did you check Alex in Tampa, or did you wait till you got a hold?
Pardon?
Alex, when you checked him, did you check
It was in Tampa. So, look, he reported to the training room after the game, some soreness. They do, an exam. Then he went and had an MRI. And I think it was that evening at dinner, Sunday night, they came back with the results. And then so he flew with us. Pretty typical for an ACL to have the procedure about 2 weeks, give or take, to let the swelling go down. It was tough news.
Have we reached that tendency?
First time that I've had players that have had ACLs, but I've never seen one in this fashion. And I was able to look at the MRI, and I'd never seen one where, he felt like he could have played, another game that night. Now, the next morning there was swelling, but that's pretty remarkable.
Kind of happened to Shelby back.
Say that again?
Shelby went back in the game one time here when he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say that.
But I mean, I've never seen anyone play, obviously that long.
You've talked about the season in quarters. Have we reached the tendency breaker point of the season for a guy like Bo Nix, or is it still early when you get into the fourth game?
We used to break down the season in quarters. We don't do that anymore. Look, I think all these young guys that are playing are growing. They're growing, and we have to also. These are the things what does he do well? What does he like? Can we do that? That type of thing. So that's got to continue. Not only on his part, but I keep talking about everyone else around him. The players and coaches painting the right picture. Those are all important things for his success.
Coach, did I see Frank Beamer was here?
He was here, yeah.
How's that to have a great resource like that here?
I met him when we practiced here years ago. There was a tie. He remembered his last game before he got hired at Virginia Tech. He was the head coach at Murray State, I believe. They made the playoffs in 1986. And in the opening round, they lost to Eastern Illinois. I was the quarterback. And then the following week, we lost to Eastern Kentucky. So Frank went to Virginia Tech, and then our head coach went to Western Michigan. So I knew of Coach Beamer, how many, that's a long time ago. He's had, obviously, a tremendous impact. His son now is coaching at South Carolina. Nate Atkins played for his son. Nate's father works for his son, and it was great seeing him here.
Get some kick
Huh?
Get some kick blocks thrown up. Big blocks.
I'm telling you what, you're right. When you first said that, it's pretty extraordinary.